7th English medium, in biology, we started chapter number 10, respiration in organisms, in which we learned that why do we respire? Because we know that during the respiration we get energy, and therefore all the living organisms require energy to do the different life processes, and therefore the respiration is very, very important. Also we learn that respiration is of two steps: breathing and cellular respiration. Breathing involves inhalation and exhalation, while in the cellular respiration the oxygen reaches the cell and break down the glucose to produce the carbon dioxide, water and energy. So this complete process is known as the respiration, and it is happening in the cell, therefore it is also called cellular respiration. Then also we learn about the types of respiration. So mainly there are two types of respiration, that is aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration means that occurs in the presence of oxygen, and during that respiration large amount of energy is produced because the breakdown of glucose is completely done, and therefore it directly produces carbon dioxide, water and energy. So large amount of energy is produced in an aerobic respiration. The other type of respiration was anaerobic respiration, in which the respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen, like in the bacteria, etc., in which they don't need oxygen at all. So in that, but completely glucose is not breaking down. Glucose is broken down partially, and so they produce some different, like alcohol and carbon dioxide and energy. Therefore in the anaerobic respiration small amount of energy compared to that aerobic respiration takes place. So yeast is also such type of organism that we are going to learn here. Yeast are unicellular organisms. Unicellular means single cell. Their body is made up of only a single cell, and those yeast respire anaerobically, and during this process they produce alcohol. Generally they produce alcohol during this anaerobic respiration, and therefore the yeast are used in industries to make the wine and beer, because they are made up of alcohol. So yeast are bred in the big place, in the big amount, so that during that process, which is also known as fermentation, and during that fermentation they produce alcohol. They respire anaerobically and produce alcohol, and therefore they are used to make wine, beer, etc., that all alcoholic drinks. Now sometimes what happens, we see that aerobic respiration, generally all the animals do the aerobic respiration except this bacteria and yeast, etc. But sometimes our muscle cells also respire anaerobically. I am going to give you examples. Like sometimes you run fast, or you have done very heavy exercise like fast cycling, or doing some exercise, push-ups or pull-ups or whatever, sit-ups, etc. And then what happens? You know that at that time you taking air very means you breathing very fast. You breathing very fast, and then sometimes you get cramps in your legs or in your muscles. Maybe you have noticed that after running very fast or during the exercise, sometimes in the PT lecture, your teacher give you some exercise to do, yoga to do, and then that time what happens? There is cramps in your muscles. Muscles are paining. Why? What happens? So sometimes when the more oxygen is required, more energy is required, because during fast exercise, fast activities, we are using more energy, and therefore our energy is getting used faster. So now to do that other work, they need more energy. Now if we breathe also very faster, but not the supply of oxygen will be sufficient. So in this situation, the muscle cell get insufficient supply of oxygen. That when insufficient than the normal oxygen. In normally we get the oxygen, but when there is like this situation, we are doing heavy exercise, that time they get a small amount of, means the requirement oxygen is more, but they cannot get more oxygen. So there will be lack of oxygen. And during this time, for the timing, for the small period of time, our muscle cells also respire anaerobically. Means without oxygen also, they start breaking down of the glucose. And during that what happens? It is not also getting completely broken down. And therefore, in this situation, they produce lactic acid. And because of the accumulation, when the lactic acid is getting in the storage in the muscle cells, and due to the acid, you know that acid is harmful, and therefore for the accumulation of the lactic acid, we get cramps for that time. And then when we get normal, means we are breathing normally, after that period is over, then what happens? Again that lactic acid is broken down into the carbon dioxide and water, and therefore we get relief from that cramps. So during this time, means when we run fast, we have some very heavy exercise, etc., there is temporary deficiency of oxygen. Means we cannot get enough oxygen because we are running faster or whatever is that. So during this time, when there is a lack of oxygen, the muscle cells are doing the anaerobic respiration. So that is the equation, that glucose, in the lack of oxygen, they produce lactic acid plus energy. And due to the accumulation of this lactic acid causes muscle cramps. And when there is sufficient supply of oxygen, when we are getting normal, we get again sufficient oxygen, and then that lactic acid is getting break down into the carbon dioxide and water, and this leads to relief from the cramps. So after that, after short time, that we get relief from that lactic acid cramps also. Now what is the breathing rate? Breathing rate means generally in 1 minute how many times we breathing. Actually what is the breathing? One breath means one inhalation plus one exhalation. When, look here, men we say that one inhalation and one exhalation, that is called one breathing. So one in, one out is one breath. One in, one out is another breath. One in, one out is the other breath. So one inhalation plus one exhalation called a breath. So if you count that how many times we take breath in and out is known as the breathing rate. So look here, a breath means one inhalation plus one exhalation. The number of times a person breathes in a minute is termed as breathing rate. It means that in 1 minute, how many times we take breath. Means in and out is known as 1. So in 1 minute, the times of breathe is known as the breathing rate of a person. So now generally on an average, an adult human being at rest means in normal condition, at rest, breathes in and out 15 to 18 times. If you are free, you have time, then you can count like that. You breathe in and out, then count 1. Look at the time also. Start from the 12, then again that second hour, and come to the 12 again, then there will be 1 minute. Then during that 1 minute, you must count how many times you take in and out, in and out. So it will be nearly between the 15 to 18. That is the normal breathing rate of a person. But during the heavy exercise like we run fast or cycling fast, etc., or fighting with the friends, in this situation it can increase because that time we take more breath, more oxygen and so on. And therefore that time during heavy exercise the breathing rate can be increased up to 25 times per minute. Means in 1 minute, that time your breathing will be 25 times also. Because at that time we have to breathe faster than the normal times. So if you want to count it, you can do that counting at your own, and then you will find out what is your breathing rate, and then you can compare with your friends also, that they can also record and you can ask them, etc. Then you can do one thing. First, at rest, you must find out what is your breathing rate. Then after a brisk walk for 10 minutes. In 10 minutes you can take a normal walk, not faster, normal walk, and then again after that you count your breathing rate, and then run faster, running fast 100 meter, and then you will see that every time your breathing rate will not be equal, it will be different. In the normal condition it will be between 15 to 18, but in your normal walk and after that it will be little more, but after running fast 100 meter, then your breathing rate will be more like 25 or 26 also can reach. So that is the different condition will give you, but the normal breathing rate will be 15 to 18 times a minute, that will be. And therefore after, you know that when we take like a heavy exercise, running, etc., then that time we take breathe more also. So what happens? Our more energy is produced. Where is energy produced from? From the food. And therefore after running, after heavy exercise or something, we need food. We feel hungry, we feel drowsy, because our energy is used up and we need more energy. And to get more energy, our stomach is giving you the information that we are hungry. So after this breathing exercise, the heavy exercise, generally we need more food because we feel hungry, and after that we feel drowsy also. Then if you take little food, then you will be normal again. So that is the thing in which we are. And similarly, sometimes when we feel drowsy, we start yawning also. Because we need more oxygen that time, and that is the thing here. Now, how do we breathe? So generally, what is the process? How do we breathe in? Which are the our organs that is helping here? So generally we know that we breathe in through the nostrils. These two holes in the nose are known as nostrils, and then nostrils are going, that inside is known as nasal cavity. So generally we take in air through the nostril to nasal cavity. So that is inside is nasal cavity, and you know that in the nasal cavity there are thin hair also, small hairs, and there is mucus which filter the air so that the dust and the bacteria etc. cannot go in. They will trap that in the nasal cavity. The air reaches our lungs through the windpipe. Then through the nasal cavity it going to the windpipe, and through the windpipe it goes to our lungs. Lungs are in our chest cavity. Lungs are present in the chest cavity, which is surrounded by ribs in the sides. Here, if you press here, you will find some ribs like here, and those are the ribs which protects our lungs. So, lungs are present in the chest cavity, which is surrounded by ribs in the sides. A large muscular sheet called diaphragm lies at the bottom of the lungs. So, down the lungs, there is a muscular sheet which is known as diaphragm, and the work of diaphragm and the ribs we will learn in the next video. But that diaphragm and the ribs also getting moved when we take the breathe in, and during the breathing it is a large muscular sheet called diaphragm lies at the bottom of the lungs, and during the breathing the diaphragm and ribs also do the movements, and due to their movements it is possible to breathe in and breathe out also. So here we are going to stop our video. Here we learn about the yeast, and mainly the main thing that we learn that in the human beings sometimes the muscle cells are taking anaerobic respiration only for the time being when we have done very fast exercise, and that times we get cramps because of that lactic acid, and then when lactic acid is broken down again we will get relief after of that. Then we learn about the breathing rate, means in 1 minute how many times we breathe in and out. That is known as breathing rate. For the human being, adult at rest, the normal breathing rate is 15 to 18 times. Means in 1 minute we will take in and out 15 to 18. Means some will take 15, some will take 16, some will take 17. Means it will be between thus to 15 to 18. And it can be go more than 25 also when we are having exercise. And then breathing will take in with the nostrils and nasal cavity, through it which goes to the windpipe and then into the lungs. And there is a diaphragm at the bottom. Now about the diaphragm and the ribs and the other activities we will see in the next video, that how the total respiration takes place. Then we will see that. So here after this you will get a PDF file. Whatever is there you have to write down in your notebook, and if any problems, any confusion, write down in the comment section. Thank you very much.